We are taking you into the news right now with the Fox 45 news feed. It's 11 a.m. Should Baltimore City leaders have term limits? It's a question that will be on the ballot come November. Still ahead, the group pushing for change. And nearly a month into the new school year, and more than 1,000 Baltimore City school students are missing from class. What school leaders are doing to try to find them. And Ian is now a major hurricane. We are tracking the storm and when it's expected to make landfall in Florida. Fox 45 News Midday starts now.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News Midday.
We start with breaking news right now. The suspect named in the murder of a Baltimore man is now holed up inside a Washington, D.C. apartment after shooting at police. That is according to our Sinclair sister station in Washington, D.C. According to a tweet from police, 27-year-old Avery Miller is barricaded inside a home in Northeast D.C. He's wanted for the August 10th killing of 25-year-old Araya Wolf. Police say Wolf, who was from Baltimore City, was installing solar panels in D.C. when he was killed. We are going to continue to follow the story. We'll bring you new developments as they happen. While topping your political news, a push to impose term limits on Baltimore City leaders. Come Election Day, the issue will be on the ballot for voters to decide. It comes after the group, the People for Elected Accountability and Civic Engagement, pushed for the measure. Representatives from the group are speaking. They're going to be speaking very shortly. That press conference was due to start just 1 minute ago, so the podium is set up and ready to go. Well, we'll get back to that if and when they begin that conference. Meanwhile, a crisis in the classroom. We're nearly a month into the new school year, and more than 1,000 Baltimore City school students are being marked missing. Shannon Lilly looks at what school leaders are doing to try to find those kids.
Well, city schools tell us they are doing everything they can to try to track down and contact these 1,300 students. That is how many desks have been sitting empty just so far this school year. So to put that into perspective, there's about 78,000 students enrolled in city schools, and that means 1 in every 60 Baltimore City students either hasn't shown up at all or has 10 or more unexcused absences.
We're here to support you and to figure out what we can do to get your child back in school.
Yeah, over the weekend, Tanya Crawford-Williams here with the Office of Student Conduct and Attendance spearheaded a phone bank with about a dozen or so volunteers. Each volunteer had a list of students that they called. Now, they did manage to connect with about half of those currently unaccounted for students, but hundreds still remain missing. As for why many of these students aren't coming in, well, Crawford-Williams says there's a variety of reasons, ranging from families experiencing homelessness, loss of jobs, poverty, some dealing with trauma. Some students say they're even working. But she also says the problem, surprisingly, is not any worse than it's been in years past. Now, another detail that's important to note this morning is that these enrollment numbers are due this coming Friday, and missing students could mean less funding for the school district. So time really is of the essence to track down these students. Reporting in downtown Baltimore, I'm Shannon Lilly, Fox 45 News, Midday.
All right, the news conference about term limits on Baltimore City leaders just began. This is the leader of that group, Giovanni Patterson. Let's listen.
We created a grassroots organization months ago to work to place term limits on the ballot for the voters of Baltimore City and to support at the polls this election day on November 8th. Thanks to the overwhelming support from the citizens of Baltimore, we collected far more than the 10,000 signatures required from registered voters of Baltimore City to place term limits on the ballot this November. Just as we saw as we collected signatures from the support for months all across the city, we expect the citizens of Baltimore to speak loud and clear this November 8th that they support term limits for our elected officials. It is time to create the opportunities needed for new leaders, fresh ideas, and solutions to help change the future of Baltimore City. All across the nation.
You can continue to watch this news conference live on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Right now, the search is on for a gunman who opened fire near Clifton Park, hitting 3 people. As Olivia Dance shows us, one of the victims is a teenager.
Police are still searching for the gunman who opened fire just a couple miles away from here near Clifton Park, and a 15-year-old kid was among those shot. The incident happened yesterday in broad daylight on East 29th Street, and you're looking at video from the scene. 3 people were hit by gunfire, including a 15-year-old, a 23 and 25-year-old, and thankfully they're all expected to survive, but witnesses in the area are describing what they heard.
Like I said, it just sounded like loud boom.
It had to have been 30 to 60 rounds, within about less than 10 seconds. My partner was outside and saw people fleeing the area.
Officers spent most of the afternoon questioning residents in the block, searching for clues. But again, at this time, no suspects have been named or arrested. And residents tell us that there were young children outside on the street when the shots rang out. And concerns are growing as homicide is now the leading cause of death among children in Baltimore.
These kids are going to kindergarten. And when they go into kindergarten, they're drawing pictures of guns and dead bodies because that's their experience. We've got to change the narrative.
Data shows that homicides are up compared to this time last year. And as concerns grow, more are hoping that city leaders will step up. But of course, only time will tell. For now, reporting in Baltimore, I'm Olivia Dance, Fox 45 News, Midday.
11:06, and here's a look at today's top trending stories. Trending number 1, Baltimore County Police say they arrested a juvenile for a stabbing in Cockeysville. It happened Sunday night on Lord Byron Lane, just off Cranbrook Road. 2 victims were taken to the hospital and are expected to survive. Trending number 2, police have arrested a 63-year-old man who they say stabbed his girlfriend to death and then dumped her body under a bridge. Bruce Poole is now behind bars. Police say he stabbed 53-year-old Kelly Logan and then left her body under a light rail bridge in Westport. Trending number 3, Fox 45 News is demanding answers from Baltimore City Council members after a hearing on the Johns Hopkins Police Department was canceled. Councilwoman Odette Ramos proposed the meeting and then canceled it. In a statement, she said it's because of logistics. The statement goes on to say that her office is working to plan a virtual town hall on the matter. Fox 45 News sent questions to City Council members about the recent cancellation. We asked, do you support the implementation of JHU's police force? If not, what are your concerns? If you do not support the Hopkins police, should other universities have their police forces that are in place? And given the understaffing of the Baltimore Police Department, do you believe BPD can provide the level of policing on the campuses of Hopkins without a private police force? So far, we have not heard back from any council members we emailed. Johns Hopkins University will hold 2 more town halls this week to talk about the new campus police department. The first town hall was forced online last week after it was interrupted by protesters. This week's town halls are scheduled for Thursday and Friday. You can find more information on our website, foxbaltimore.com. What's still ahead, standing out in a hot job market, how one woman made an edible resume and delivered it halfway across the country. Stepping back from his iconic role, how James Earl Jones says he's ready to let Star Wars use his voice even after he is gone. But first, a statewide scandal involving the misuse of welfare funds in Mississippi, how former NFL quarterback Brett Favre was wrapped up in it all.
Our weather story, a breezy and cooler afternoon for us here at home under partly cloudy skies. Temperature staying below average here, not only today, but for the next couple of days. And you can see over the next couple of hours, eventually sliding into the lower 70s. The average this time of year, 76. So we're going to keep those numbers below average as we head into the afternoon and actually for most of the week. We'll continue to track that forecast and the impacts from Hurricane Ian on our local neighborhoods. That's coming up in just a few.
11:10 and taking a look at your social stream, a new bombshell court filing is offering up new details about the misuse of welfare funds in Mississippi and the alleged role former NFL quarterback Brett Favre played in it. The new court filings include text messages that show Favre kept pushing for the money, even after being warned it was potentially illegal. Lawyers for former Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant writes Favre continued working to obtain funds for a multi-million-dollar volleyball center at his alma mater, being told it could possibly be an illegal use of state funds. The funds were part of a broader state audit that found $77 million of federal welfare grant money that was meant for the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program in Mississippi was actually used instead to help fund projects desired by the politically connected and celebrities, including Favre. This is what you're saying about it. Big topic for the last several days. Andrea says, I don't know why everyone is so shocked about the scandal. The rich have always lavished themselves in money meant for the poor in Mississippi. What should be in question is the loopholes a person has to go through to receive help. You almost have to be dirt poor to be approved. Jim says, we're at the point where every single use of the wording public welfare funds needs a full investigation. Same-sex couples can now get hitched in Cuba. In a new referendum, voters on the island legalized gay marriage. The National Electoral Council says a clear majority supported a family code that also increased protections for women, children, and the LGBTQ community. Reaction on social media. One person saying the thing about gay marriage in Cuba is that the popular majority voted in favor of it, and it will be a constitutional right, unlike in the U.S., where the Supreme Court can overturn same-sex marriage despite of what the majority of people think. Another person, my country, Cuba, finally approved the same-sex marriage. Well, Darth Vader's deep voice will live on with and without James Earl Jones. He's been recording the legendary Star Wars villain's line since 1977. But the 91-year-old actor hasn't done any voice work for the franchise since 2019. According to Vanity Fair, Jones took part in an artificial intelligence program that helped recreate his voice for future projects. Vanity Fair also reports that Jones signed off on the deal to allow his voice to be used in future Lucasfilms projects through AI and archival recordings. This is what people are saying about that. A lot of people liking the idea of being able to continue to hear him. The voice of cinema's greatest villain, James Earl Jones, has officially retired from voicing Darth Vader. For the rest of my life, I will always love James Earl Jones for what he gave to Star Wars and my life. Another person, thank you, James Earl Jones, for everything you have done for Star Wars and its community. The Force will be with you always. Still ahead, Apple is making changes to its new iPhone, the manufacturing change the company's making. But first, new COVID booster shots could be coming for kids. The requests Moderna and Pfizer are making, that's just ahead. 11:14 is the time. We are back now with a live look over at Towson. A cooler start to the morning, and things will stay cooler than they have been. Coming up in a few minutes, we're going to check in with meteorologist Justin Chambers to see when remnants from Hurricane Ian will reach us. Coming up on 11:16 now and making headlines, Pfizer and Moderna want to put out a new COVID booster shot for kids. The two companies are requesting emergency use authorization from the FDA for updated booster shots. The shots would be for those 5 to 11. Officials say this shot focuses on strains that were part of the original vaccine and new variants. Pandemic-related unemployment fraud may top $45 billion. That is according to a report from the U.S. Department of Labor. The potentially fraudulent payments have been tied to people filing in multiple states, Social Security numbers for people who are deceased, suspicious email accounts, and ineligible federal prisoners. A consumer alert for you now. Apple will start making its new iPhone in India. The news comes as the tech giant looks to shift some of its production away from China. Apple has been making iPhones in India since 2017, but they were usually older models. With the iPhone 14, Apple is producing its latest model in India for the first time. The new device was introduced earlier this month. Speaking of Apple, the company is reportedly putting its new payment feature on hold because of technical problems. Apple Pay Later, a buy now, pay later option, may not be available until spring. That's according to a report by Bloomberg. The feature was supposed to come at the time of Apple's iOS 16 update release. The operating system is now out, but the Apple Pay Later feature didn't arrive with it. The report says the delay could be due to possible technical and engineering challenges. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 4, Baltimore residents may soon decide whether to impose term limits on elected leaders. What each side of the debate has to say on the issue. A young Baltimore father was gunned down in D.C. earlier this year. At 5, how the D.C. police caught up with the suspect. And at 6, the proposed Johns Hopkins police force is a political lightning rod in Baltimore City. Fox 45 News investigates other campuses in our area to see how those colleges handle policing. You can get Fox 45 News in a flash to your Amazon Alexa or Echo. We now deliver your local headlines and forecasts in less than 2 minutes. If you have an Amazon device, tell it to enable Fox 45 Baltimore. 11:18 and now to today's talking point. A Massachusetts man proposes to his girlfriend by faking his own arrest. With police in on the plan, Wayne Morse was handcuffed during the middle of his anniversary dinner. He was carted off to a police cruiser before officers then came back in for his girlfriend, Kristen.
He's like, oh, there's some serious charges against him, and he'd like to tell you himself. I'm like, oh, my God. So I follow them out, and that's when they opened the door, and he jumped out and got down on one knee.
Well, after moments of shock, her answer looks like it was a yes there. In a Facebook post, the police department said they were grateful to have taken part in the unique proposal, and they wished the couple well. Mark Clark with Be More Lifestyle is here now. And your thoughts on this proposal?
I don't know if it's because I have 2 female dogs and 3 daughters and a wife, but this right here is no bueno. Are you crazy? Like, I'd imagine the tears and the shock and the outrage. This is a stupid idea. It's the worst ever.
I'm so with you. Why do I want to be scared out of my mind and mad to the nth degree to then turn around and feel like one of the happiest moments of my life? Like, why do you think that's romantic?
I could just hear my wife saying, why would you ruin my my happiest day? Why?
Well, exactly. So how did you do it? How did you propose?
Oh, I proposed at our favorite restaurant. I went there earlier, dropped the ring off earlier, and they came out with on my birthday, and singing happy birthday, and they brought the ring out, and I proposed.
That is a much nicer, much sweeter way to do it than pretending. I mean, and getting the police involved. So now is everybody going to be calling the police saying, hey, not like they don't have other things to do?
They don't have enough police be doing this.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. The police were probably trying to be helpful there, but I don't know. I didn't like the idea. But, she said yes.
But Patrice, I'm not going to tell your age, but I think like this whole prank thing is crazy now anyway. You see these pranks?
Yeah, I don't don't like it. I even told my husband now when we were dating, I said, I'm not the come and propose to me on the air kind of girl. I don't want that. This is between me and you. This is private.
Yeah,
so
that's true. That's true. I know you are private. It's true. That's a good thing.
All right.
Thanks, Patrice.
Well, happening right now, Ian is now a major hurricane. Meteorologist Justin Chambers is tracking the storm and when it's going to make landfall.
Well, all eyes are on Ian, and now we're seeing some of the radar here from Key West. This is earlier this morning where you could actually see the storm being picked up, that well-defined eye over Cuba as it continues to cross that western tip of that nation. It will continue out into the waters of the Gulf of Mexico and eventually will impact the west coast of Florida. That's what all the talk is, and that's what we're going to continue to talk about even here at home, because by the time we get to the weekend, we'll have some of that tropical moisture in our area, including rain showers and possibly even some breezy to windy conditions. Lower 70s, however, for the afternoon. We are going to see the wind pick up once again today, especially from the west. 72 for your high temp today. That number below average for this time of year with 6:56. That's when the sun is going to be up until tonight. So those daylight hours, now we're on the other side. Now that we're past the equinox and we're actually seeing those shorter days. We've got longer nights and shorter daylight hours. Lower 70s here. Cockeysville and Baltimore open at Bel Air this afternoon. 73 Annapolis and Chestertown. 74 your temp in Stevensville across the Bay Bridge. And we'll see those 70s continue for Philly and Baltimore down through D.C. up into New York City, even down the ocean. 75 there in Ocean City with 66 your temp in Cumberland later today. If you're flying down to Ocean City or anywhere today, overall, we've got VFR conditions, so visual flight rules, but a bit breezy at times, especially with that westerly wind. You can see on our future scan, we're not really tracking much in the way of rain. The wind is going to turn and be more northerly on Wednesday and Thursday. So that's where we're going to get that kind of northerly component, bringing in that cooler and drier air. This is the hurricane that we continue to track. It will continue to increase in intensity as it makes its way closer to Tampa later this week. And it's going to be the strong winds and that storm surge. That's going to be the biggest thing we'll be tracking for folks there. Bringing it back home, the rain that we're going to see from Ian starts late Saturday night, most of Sunday and into Monday. Those are going to be the wettest days. So the first half of Saturday does look dry, but notice those temperatures stay in the 70s for highs and 50s for lows.
All right, well, still ahead, finally, some good news for renters. We're looking at the market prices and how they're trending. 11:23 now on Fox 45 News Midday. 11:26. Don't miss this. Some good news for renters. For the first time in 2 years, rent prices are falling. The Wall Street Journal reporting asking rents across the U.S. fell 0.1% in August from July. That's according to a report from CoStar Group, a property data company. It says it's the first monthly decline since December of 2020. Well, time now for your lunch break. It wouldn't be Hollywood if it wasn't getting a makeover. The Hollywood sign is getting a facelift. A crew of 10 is now working to freshen up that sign. It will be prepped, primed, and painted. And it's going to take a lot of paint. The sign letters are a massive 45 feet high. Never knew that. Well, that's all we have time for today. On Fox 45 News Midday, Be More Lifestyle is up next. Mark Clark back to tell us what they're working on. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Patrice. So left at the altar, one bride didn't let it ruin her day. We'll show you how she kept the party going. That's coming up next on Be More Lifestyle.